Hello, everyone. A warm welcome to this session. And today is a very, very special day for us and for all of you as well, because at GMATWhiz, we always actually want to create amazing success stories and share those with you so that everyone who is aspiring to do well on GMAT is able to do well on GMAT. And today we have, for the very first time, a student, Piyush Chaudhary, who has actually achieved the 100th percentile on GMAT. And I'm sure that's the dream of almost everyone who is here watching the video, who will watch the video later as well. So we are going to discuss a lot about what are the main things that work for Piyush and how can you take those learnings in your preparation as well and make sure that you are also able to achieve a similar feat, if not the same feat, because obviously achieving a 100 percentile is not an easy thing at all. Like that basically means you are technically topping the test that way. Okay, so without any further ado, I would invite Piyush to the session. But yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to share them in the chat. The chat window is there for that same reason. And those of you who watch this video later in form of recording, also, you can always share your questions to support@gmatwiz.com. Or Piyush is also want to share his handles, so you can directly communicate with Piyush as well. Always do that. But today, if you have any questions, feel free to share it in the chat. And I'll act as a moderator and I'll do less talking. It will be the other Piyush who will be doing the main talking. So please put your questions here. My job is to just show the questions to Piyush so that he can answer them for you. So without any further ado, I'm inviting Piyush to the stage. Hi Piyush, how was the feeling when you saw that 100 percentile on the screen for the first time in front of you? How was the feeling?
Amazing, like unbelievable, unbelievable. Like I'll give you just a bit of context. Last GMAT score I had a 720, and the whole intent of giving this attempt was to get a higher percentile than 720. So 720 is 93 percentile, and I was looking for something 96, 97. But when I was searching for the screen, I couldn't see any number starting from 9, and it was like, what is this? Why is 100 there? So for the first 1 2 minutes, I was in a complete disbelief. But yeah, a long journey coming to an end. I'm like grateful, काफी grateful.
No, no, true. I can totally relate to the feeling because like getting that number starting from one like is something you don't expect to happen, and it's a good kind of surprise basically that happened with you.
Yes.
So really happy. And for the viewers, Piyush had a pretty long journey. So again, there are people who do it in one go, one shot. Don't struggle a lot, but Piyush had to go through a lot. Like he had, like he'll talk about it. Obviously, I'll not take that away from him. But it was a very long journey, and after that, seeing that 100 percentile is completely a different experience. And I
Correct.
recall the very first discussion that I had with Piyush, like when we, I guess it was almost 9 10 months back, like last
Correct.
year.
Huh.
June, July, when we connected, and I was having a discussion. So Piyush is a very dear friend of one of our other students, Balaji, who also
Yes.
worked with us and achieved a similar feat, like not the 100 percentile, but he was able to achieve a 99 percentile. And we were having this discussion. Piyush was telling me, Piyush, you know what, I have a 650 is what he got before joining GMATWhiz, and then he took one attempt with GMATWhiz, scored a 710, and we were discussing like, can we improve the score, get close to Balaji and all. So I still remember that very discussion that we had
Correct.
that time around basically.
Correct.
But yeah, let's start from your introduction. Let's start with your journey. And good thing is Piyush has actually created a presentation also for the viewers so that he can share his inputs, and also you guys can take screenshots or just note things down from the PPT as well. So yeah, over to you, Piyush. Yeah.
So a basic introduction about me. I have graduated from IIT ISM Dhanbad in 2019 as a petroleum engineer. I work as a drilling engineer. Basically, my work incorporates drilling oil and gas wells to bring out oil and gas from subsurface to the surface. It's a pretty exciting job. We work at offshore environment, lot of challenges. Like it's a really a dream job for me. It is still. And for GMAT, I have been preparing for say 2 years. So it was not a continuous 2 year period. Obviously, it was in bits and pieces. Last score I had was of 720 in September, and I had applied to ISB and Ahmedabad. At both the places, I got waitlisted, and finally on 30th March, I got rejected. And then again, went back to my notes, went back to my learnings, started preparing again, and by 27th April, I had the score. So yeah, really a good turnaround that I did for myself. Really very proud of myself for being able to pull that off.
I
So
think
one,
sometimes it's also destiny, Piyush, right? If probably ISB or IM would have accepted you, you would have not have taken this challenge on yourself that okay,
correct,
I need to push myself to a better score. So I think everything is written for us in the destiny for a reason. Yeah.
right, right. So there's also Shivani ma'am. So she has also worked with you people. So she is Bala's wife. So she used to
Okay.
say me, यार ISB नहीं हो रहा है तो कुछ अच्छा ही होगा. And like well before, so we used to meet every weekend. And she so
Okay.
like well, yeah, destiny is there. There are a lot of things that like you know, your plan and God's plan. So yeah,
Yes,
काफी
exactly,
yeah.
exactly. So really, really, really great things happen for a reason, and I'm pretty sure not that ISB not apply. Most likely, it's still a very good school. You'll apply, but you
Correct,
have
yeah,
a lot more options open now, which are much better than ISB also now.
right. So, like one key learning that I want everyone to take away from this much part of the video is that you should have that momentum in place. So, the most important thing for GMAT is to have a momentum, say, of 80 to 90 days, where you are studying continuously for 80 to 90 days. For us working professionals, it becomes very tough. That say even for a week that goes very hectic. It becomes impossible to sit and study. So, what I would suggest that even if one question you are trying for CR or RC, any like just even one question, do that one question, keep that momentum maintained. So that is like one very important part for preparing for GMAT.
Right, right. In fact, one thing which was a even bigger challenge in your case was that you had to work on an offshore location for like almost like what I understand from Balaji's role was it was like 15 days offshore and 15 days onshore. Okay,
Yes,
and if
correct.
yours was similar, then it is even more difficult to kind of actually achieve that thing
Right.
overall.
So more or less similar to his role. I had to go to rig I bit less than him, but yeah, more or less the same thing. So yes.
Okay, so let's talk about this window. I think this is the screen that similar to this screen that you saw, Piyush. And seriously, I'm feeling jealous of you seeing that 100 percentile over there. So yeah, how did you do it? What was the journey about? Tell us about the journey. Yeah.
Okay. In terms of this core, what I would say that again, so being an engineer, quant kind of comes naturally. But then again, what GMAT test more than your quant skill is how well are you able to read the things. It is very silly in a way. Like so, what I say to my friends and whoever calls me regarding GMAT, as I say कि अगर GMAT का जो quant है, if there is no time limit, there is not a chance you'll do a question wrong. There's nothing that you do not know after going through the basics. It's just that in
True.
timed manner how they trick you. So that you need to be very vigilant on how you're reading the questions.
And I
Uh,
think that's one thing, Piyush, you would agree that is something which makes GMAT challenging, not just the way you need to attempt it, but also the way you need to prepare. Because sometimes what happens is, and you'll agree to this, I'm saying this because when we were discussing in the morning, you're talking about the same thing, that when people think about timed test, they focus so much so on the timed part of it that they
mhm.
start looking for shortcuts or hacks or something which can make things move faster for them. Right.
Yes,
In
yes.
reality, that's not how it's supposed to be done.
Correct, correct. So I'll add here. So how I now think of preparing for GMAT is in two step. Like the very first zeroth step for you should be take a GMAT mock, the official mock, and do that in an untimed manner. Like take screenshots, pause the test, solve questions. So you get a fair bit idea where you stand as of right now if there is no time pressure. Then you need to focus on the knowledge gaps. Why did you get those questions wrong? Fill those knowledge gaps first. Say getting 80% accuracy throughout all the sections. And then you need to focus on the time thing. And a big mistake I was doing here was in terms of knowledge, I was not actually preparing much or pushing myself enough. I was trying to search for some magical formula, especially for critical reasoning. Like, is there some magical formula, something that I do not know? And Sunita ma'am, Bala sir, everyone kept on saying me this, कि यार Piyush नहीं exist करता. There is nothing a magical formula. You just need to practice in one very structured way. But then maybe I was like too dumb enough that time to understand that and internalize that. It took a bit time for
And
me. So
sometimes
the second,
I have done that.
so
I have also done that, Piyush, to
and
be
I
honest.
just a bit like just concluding this, like a second key learning that people can take from here is that, like, I make this analogy of a plane. Like when the plane takes off, there's a turbulence when it crosses the cloud before reaching the cruising altitude. So do not be scared of that turbulence. Stay with that turbulence. That is a mistake that I did. Like I jumped along a lot. That you should not. You should go at one place, stick there. That is the most important. And like the thing that I changed from my 720 attempt to the 735 attempt was sticking with those basic methods, practicing those very thoroughly. Like I was actually writing down everything. So that is a key thing that is very important. Sticking at a
Yeah, I
single
would want you
place.
to go deep into that part, like the writing down part, because I am sure many people don't do that, and when they know how to do it, they will actually do it well. Like the way you were telling me in the morning about how did you write.
Mhm.
So, what is this writing part you're talking about?
Okay. So basically, now with sentence correction gone, GMAT verbal more or less remains a game of how well do you think, right? Now, when you're solving a question, uh, if you solve the question in mind itself, like just seeing those questions and solving, okay, this won't be the answer, this won't be the answer, this may be the answer, this is close. So that is the mental commentary that goes in your head. Now, say if you get that question right or wrong, you have no way to judge that did you think properly. Say even if you get a question right, but did you think properly? So there was no way to judge. And if you're not judging your thought process, if you're not how do I put it, if you're not nudging it and refining it, so you won't get better. So the only way to get better in GMAT verbal is when you are solving a question, take that question, put it in your word file, and for every option write it down very clearly. Why are you eliminating? And before that, a very basic thing in verbal is always eliminate. Never go for choosing the right answer. Always go for eliminating the four wrong answers. So for that, you need to very clearly write why you are eliminating this option. And then when you go back and say using GMATWhiz platform where the solutions are very detailed, you can read those solution and see where exactly you went wrong. So that way you can have a very plethora of learning. And this is not a very tough thing to do. Just do for the first 40, 50 questions. You'll be well disciplined to think in a proper way and you'll have enough data points where you take the wrong turn. So with this, you can actually improve your score in a in a much efficient way
Structured
rather
and
than just,
efficient way. Yeah.
rather than solving in your mind, because that doesn't really help. You cannot go back and see where I took the wrong turn. But while writing, you can see that. So
Yeah,
that
and
can be
that's
the
that's one of the very important lessons for everyone who is watching this video, because in GMAT, especially for a test like GMAT, where it's an adaptive algorithm and you need to get the hardest questions right, it's not just
yes,
about getting a question right. You have to also ensure that you're getting a question right for the right reasons. And that's what
correct, correct.
Piyush was telling, that you always write down the reasons why you eliminated each option. And then if you have solutions where you can actually relate to that, okay, I eliminated this choice because it was out of scope, or I eliminated this choice because it was irrelevant to the discussion. Then, like for example, in GMATWhiz, we tag each option choice in that way, saying very
Matching.
clearly that this is the reason why
Correct.
it should have eliminated. So that
Mm,
matching should happen. And Piyush
mm,
said it's a easy task. It should not, it's a very hard task, but trust me, it's a very difficult task to do. It takes effort to put in that much effort on every single question, writing things down and then going back and checking. So most people, just what they worry about is, okay, have I gotten it right? If I've gotten it right, I move to the next question. If I've gotten it
mm.
wrong, I just read which option I picked and which option was the incorrect one. That's what most
Correct.
people do. So there is no shortcut for 735 if you are here.
There is no shortcut. And so the thing is, what I did wrong, I wasted a lot of time and also money with that. Key, I was looking for some shortcut, and it is not. And why I said this is a simple thing to do is because the other option is what? Wasting so much time looking for some magic that doesn't exist. So take
Exactly.
it from me. There's no magic. There's just simply sit down, write why all five options you think are wrong, learn from the explanation, and keep building on that. That is the only way. That is the only way. There's no other way.
And the funny part, Piyush, here is that you took this attempt on 27th April. Okay, you
Yes.
got the decision from ISB around 30th March. So if you look
Yes.
at the window, you have spent
Mhm.
27 days, 27, 28 days for getting a 735. And to get
Right.
the first score, the previous score of 720, you probably spent almost 1.5 years. So
Correct.
it actually takes less time to get there if you do the right thing.
Right.
Okay, and
Correct.
and we are very close to Balaji. Balaji's story I still remember. Like the day he got a 760 on GMAT, he called ma'am and us right away. We did his interview on the same day. He was so very happy. He was telling us
Yes,
that 8 months he studied with very rigorously using another platform, and then just another couple of months of effort, where 15
correct.
days he's offshore every month, he was able to get
Yes,
to that score. Like a significant improvement happened. So it's
right.
only about that final like realization that okay, this is the right way to go about doing things, I guess.
Correct. Yes. So like there's this around 2 weeks before my actual attempt, I was sitting with Balazar, and so I used to complete CR like with my old method and everything in very less time, say 1 minute 50 seconds. But it was not a very accurate method because I used to get 6 or 7 just right, and in the hard questions I used to get only 4 right. But time बहुत कम लगता
Okay.
था. So I was telling to Balazar
Hmm.
कि sir, now I have got what you were trying to say me, and now finally I'm taking 2 minutes to solve a CR question. So finally the
अब मुझे
methods
समझ आया
improved.
कि करना क्या है.
So yes, that is very important for everyone who is watching this or who would watch this. That follow the right approach. That is very important. There's no point trying to discover some shortcut. There is no shortcut. Those shortcuts even might work for you in the easy or medium questions. It worked
Hmm.
for me, so I got very confident that my methods are better. But when I took my ESR finally of this even 720 attempt, so sentence correction, reading comprehension, and critical reasoning, all three of them were around 73 to 75 percentile. So it showed that I'm not very good in CR. I'm getting the easy and medium questions right, and at hard questions, I'm flattering. So that is very important to get the hard questions right finally to get that score.
Yeah. Because adaptive algorithm, you have to get those right, otherwise you can't score well.
Correct. Yes.
And for the
Hmm.
viewers, Piyush is referring to Bala sir all the time. So just to clarify, Bala Ji is his senior from college. So obviously, he refers to him as a as by sir. But Balaji was also one of our students at GMATWhiz. He's a good friend of Piyush. So he recommended Piyush finally to work
Hmm.
with us. In case you want to check out Balaji's interview, also he has also given amazing tips about his like journey on GMAT. You can feel free to
Right.
watch out this video link. I've just given it into the chat for the users. Okay,
Right.
so moving forward, we talked a lot about critical reasoning. That okay, how did you work on critical reasoning? What about RC?
Mhm.
Like, what were your like tips? What are your tips for RC for people basically who are
Okay.
struggling in that?
So RC, my belief is that the better you are in CR, the better you'll get at RC. So think of it this way: that for CR you have one passage, for RC you have three passage. For CR
Three
you
or
have
four.
just one very hard question. For RC you have comparatively easy questions. So there are two type of questions in RC. One type of question is where they simply ask you that where is this thing written in passage? Is this written in passage or not? You just need to
Like
verify. Ki,
detail
haan,
based
haan.
question basically.
Yeah. The other type of question is where you need to put in some thought, and that comes from practice of CR. So effectively, I did not practice much RC, but my belief was that the better I'm getting at CR, and I could see the results in mock itself. That as and when my CR score improved, my RC score improved. So separately, I did not do much, but that can also come from like I always had that habit of reading passages, and also I used to be like I used to see a lot of history videos for US, and there are a lot of comedy show that I
Okay.
follow of US. So I had some context that what is happening in US. So if you do not have that, then you should definitely go and practice RC and be very curious. Like that is the key in solving RC. Be very curious the moment you read your first paragraph. That what are they trying to teach me? What will you know about this world? Something uh, so, say for example, one of the RC that I got was about deer mice. I got
Okay.
confused that what is this like, but then again, because I was very curious, so I did not get bogged down with it, and I understood. Okay, there's a type of mice which is called a deer mice. Okay, so I understood that thing. So such kind of thing will only happen when you have a one calm mind and be very curious. Be very curious that what are they trying to teach you? What you will know. You'll know something, right? You say if you solve 100 RC passages, you'll be a much better informed individual than you are right now. So always take RC from that angle rather than thinking, ki, okay, such a long passage, how will I be able to solve or not solve? But think it from a curiosity perspective. Then again, what becomes very important is a methodological approach towards RC. That methodological approach is basically understanding a paragraph first, that the first paragraph, like the line by line, bit by bit, understanding. Moving forward to other paragraph, then circling it back, how does it relate to the first paragraph? So those are the nuances of solving a RC that you will obviously learn on the platform. But the overall structure is that once you are reading the paragraph, you should be very
You
attentive.
should be
You should
involved
not.
and curious. That's very
Hmm,
important.
correct. Do not look again for a shortcut where you think, okay, I'll skim through the paragraph right now, then I'll go back to the question and see. Uh, so you can skim through one line. If there's one particular line that you find very hard to understand, then maybe you can, but do not skim overall. The overarching theme of the paragraph, you should not. And
I
then
think
again, there is.
skimming, that one line skimming part that you said is also something which comes with expertise. Like, for example, there's
Right.
a detail out there, like they are talking about
Hmm,
names of certain things or certain
correct.
experiment names and all. So you have to be, you can skim those lines, but as you said, that you cannot skim those parts which are giving you the narrative, which are giving you the
Right.
understanding broadly.
Correct. Yes. So so basically, curiosity and a methodological approach and being better at CR are the three ingredients, according to me, to be better at RC.
I think I totally agree with what you're saying, Piyush. In fact, in my preparation also, it was a long time back. I did not prepare for RC a lot. I always say I
Huh.
prepared for SC and CR, and my RC was automatically done. I think the main game there is that if you are preparing for CR, let's say using different methods, like let's say you are doing falsification of the options, you are doing
Mhm.
extreme test analysis, like basically you're playing with the options more than the information in the argument, then probably
Correct.
you will need to put in extra effort for RC. But if you're
Hmm.
actually focusing on the argument, you're understanding the scope of the argument, inferring correctly, then you would not need to put in that much effort in RC.
Correct.
Just the involvement part of it, thinking. So in GMAT, as we call it as involved and evolved reading. So that's what Piyush
Yes.
explained in a very simple way, that you be curious about, involve yourself while you're reading the passage. And as you move forward to the other parts of the passage, evolve your reading by
Hmm.
connecting the different pieces together. So that's what you need to do: involve and evolve your reading. That's something which is very very
Like
important.
summarized in
Okay,
few words, but yeah,
yeah. So
that
you
is
explained
important.
it really really well, like the every single part of it. So that's really
Yeah.
great. So I am not seeing this question from anyone till now, but I'm sure a lot of people will have this doubt also. You mentioned that you got a 720 in GMAT Classic, which is equivalent to a 93 percentile, and you shifted
Hmm.
to GMAT Focus now, where you scored a 735, a 100 percentile. So did you
Right.
see what are the changes in your preparation approach that you had to take? Like, do you see that there are the two formats are very different, or just removal of certain things are there? What's your thought on that?
I think it's pretty much the same thing. Just it's easier now because SC is not there. I used to struggle a lot with sentence correction.
Most of
Uh,
the people do.
right. So now it becomes a lot. The game becomes a lot about. So SC people had advantage. People good with grammar. People who have read a lot in their life literature. So they had some sort of advantage. Now that advantage is gone, the playing field is much more leveled. Is what I would say. You just need to be on your toes in terms of thinking. Like you just need to, because finally GMAT is an aptitude test. If I open my notes, like the entire notes for my GMAT prep for this focus edition, it's hardly 3 to 4 pages. There isn't much
Okay.
to learn
Okay.
now, but a lot to apply. So that is a mindset shift that is very important. The quant, I think, more or less remains the same. Just the geometry part is removed. Data sufficiency still comes in data insights. Then all the multi-source reasoning questions, they were one way or the other already part of the IR. But then again, you need a bit more practice to get familiarize yourself with this. Because me being an engineer, my day-to-day work revolves around interpreting data. Like a huge
Right.
chunk of data we have, and we have to make some sense of out of it. So basically, I'm an engineer, right? That is what I do for a living. So it came kind of naturally to me. But if you come from a
I'm getting this
different
question also from Janvi. How did you prepare for DI? So just thought of presenting. Janvi,
okay, okay.
Piyush is talking about that itself. Yeah.
Okay, then let's do it in a much more structured way. Do you have that slide
Yeah.
of for
I,
DI?
yeah, I opened the presentation part for DI. Let me just
Okay,
go to that. Yeah. Yeah.
right. So
Just.
for DI, what I would say that think of it as three parts. The first part is data sufficiency. The second part is multi-source reasoning, and the third part is everything else apart from these two topics. Right. Now, what you need to do for data sufficiency, you need to be very, very clear with your quant basics, right? Because you do not actually need to solve anything. You just need to think of those edge cases, and is this input enough to get my desired output? You need not get the output, right? So that becomes very important, that solving a good amount of data sufficiency question, and again with that clarity in mind, and learning from every question. If you get a question wrong, why did you get it wrong? Then secondly, in terms of exam taking strategy, I would always suggest that do DI after quant in continuation. Because the thing is, when you do quant, you kind of gear up, you have your calculation skills, like you have warmed up, like एक warm up की तरह काम करता है, and that will lead to a better score in DI. Also, one thing is using calculator. So DI, you have the calculator in front of you, and then you need to be very aware where you need to open the calculator and where you do not. So when you're practicing on the platform, when you're giving mocks, then you need to be very aware that should I open the calculator or not. What I mean by this is, say in a very simple question, if you open calculator, you're wasting time, and in a difficult calculation, if you're not opening calculator, again you're wasting time. So by practice it comes, but be on the lookout for this, that when do you actually need to open the calculator. Now, one very it's a very controversial thing to say maybe, but
No,
what
no,
I thought, what
I would agree with the next point that you have. In fact, I would go to the extent of saying that you can even target just doing 16 questions, but get them right. Like I have ESRs to show to users, so I completely agree with what you're going to say
correct.
next. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yes. So basically, what I came to know, like from some random presentation on SlideShare, was that GMAT is an adaptive test, and it really counts the first questions that you get right. So, and this I verified with other teachers also who are coaching for GMAT, and like even I think Sunita ma'am se bhi baat hua tha mera. So the importance of getting the first one third of the questions right is very important in GMAT. So once you are prepared for DI, say for example, you have filled all your knowledge gap. There is like, if I give you say 10 minutes to solve a DI question, you can solve it. Once you are at that level of confidence, then move to giving DI in a timed manner. Initially, do not worry that will you be able to solve DI in a timed manner or not. Initially, just focus that can you solve it with 80-90% accuracy. Say if I give you 10 DI questions across the topics, and you have say 5 hours to solve it, there's no foundation on time, can you get 9 or 8 of them right? That is the first checkpoint you need to reach. For the second checkpoint, what I discovered giving mocks, that never in my preparation, in my any of the mocks and the official mocks, I was able to reach the 20th question. Never. So I decided that Piyush, I'll just do 18 questions, and the only target in my mind was to solve 6 questions in every 15 minutes. That was the only time I was mapping in my head, that when the clock is showing 30 minutes left, I should be somewhere on the sixth, seventh question. And if I am, then I'm comfortable. Now, because of that, what happened? You could see like the fourth or fifth question, I took 6.5 minutes. So that was a multi-source reasoning question, and I had enough confidence in me in my practice that I can solve multi-source reasoning question if there is no time pressure. So I was very confident, and I said to myself, okay, Piyush, we will take our time and we will solve it, no matter how much time it takes. And as a result, I got all the three MSR question right in a row. And you could see the third question, it took less than a minute. So it kind of compensated the initial few minutes. So that is very important. So yes, so data sufficiency is covered. Multi-source reasoning, you need to reach that state of mind through practice, that you can solve question if there is no time limit. Now, one very practical thing that I did while solving multi-source reasoning was, while I did never skim through, like the mistake I was doing in my mocks was, at first I was skimming through the data, then going back to question and then seeing what is relevant, what is not relevant. I do not recommend this. What I recommend is own the data set, go with that mentality, and ask for two writing pads from your examiner at the center. They'll give. What I did on my first writing pad, the data from the two tabs. So there are three tabs in multi-source reasoning. You need to switch between the tabs. So first and second tab data I put on my writing pad, like in a detailed manner, like
Okay.
comprehending it well enough that I need not go back to the tab. So the data for first two tab was like, do not copy verbatim, do not copy exactly. That is a waste of time. Read it, understand it, comprehend it, and then make the important
Key
pointers
points
there.
basically that you need to do. Yeah.
Correct. So do that for the first two tab, and the third tab is open in front of you. So you in the like the real state wise, in front of your eyes, all the data is there. You need not switch between the tabs. So that really helped me while solving the question. I need not go back to the tab. So that was one thing that really helped, because once you're switching between the tabs, you get confused, you get anxious. So that really helps on the exam day. So yeah, more or less that is the
I'll
thing.
just you complete this, and I'll just add one thing from my side.
No, no, I'm done. Like, yes. So basically, I've covered everything. Focus on reaching that stage where there is no knowledge gap. It is just timing problem if there's any. Then second step is solve data sufficiency as much as you can. Multi-source reasoning, again, have that mindset. And for other questions where you need to use the calculator or not use the calculator, develop that mindset. Yeah, that is it.
Just one part, I'm sure you would have added it, but just keep it in mind that GMAT penalizes you for not attempting questions. So even if
Right, right.
Piyush said that he is focusing on 18, he's still completing the test. Okay, so don't make
Ha,
this mistake if you don't complete
correct,
the
correct,
test.
correct. Yes, yes, yes. So yes, that is a very important point. Mark anything in the 19th and 20th question, like the last two questions. Do
Uh,
not leave. Do not leave. That is the biggest sin you can do on GMAT.
I'll
Do not
just
leave
I'll
the
just
question.
share one story, like a horror story. So this one of our students called me just day before yesterday. She
Mhm.
said that I when I completed the test, my score was showing as 695. Okay, and
Hmm.
one day after, when she got the official scorecard, it was 675, and the score dipped in quant. And what happened in quant was she was not able to mark the last one or two questions because of time. Like she was thinking of doing that last 4 5 seconds, and then she lost track of time, and the test completed basically. And imagine that kind of penalized by GMAT by 20 points in overall score, and she was like literally like feeling really bad about that entire thing overall. So make sure you
That is a
don't make that mistake ever, basically.
So GMAT at the last 5 minutes, when it is left, a dialog box appear that 5 minutes are left. In those 5 minutes,
Mhm.
you should be very aware that okay, this is the time you have. Uh, Even in my verbal, what happened like last was a set of RC 20th, 21st, and 22nd question was a RC, and 23rd question was a CR. So the last 5 minutes was left for these four questions. So in 3 to 4 minutes, I think like I gave like enough time to reach that CR question. That even though if I'm not solving very properly, so these kind of things come when you give a lot of mocks. That becomes very important. So you know how to play with time constraint. So yeah.
And don't be greedy. The last 4 5 seconds, mein you'll mark the answer. So
Uh,
this can
so know your
happen. So
ability. Know your ability while
yeah.
giving mocks. You would know how much. So self-awareness is very important. GMAT for me has been a very spiritual journey that way. I came to know a lot of things about myself, that this is what I'm doing wrong and this is what I'm doing right. Correct. So yeah,
That's
that
great.
is more or less it for DI. I don't think I have anything more to add.
Yeah, I'll take up another question. So Saurav is asking, what study material did you refer to?
It's a long journey. I have used more or less every coaching available. So, like for specifically GMATWhiz, I completed their CR, I completed their sentence correction back then, I completed their quant. Those are the things I did. RC, as I have stated, I did not study much because my simple relation was that if I do better here, then I went even on GMAT Club to solve questions from there. But then again, coming back to it, it is actually not much about the material, but how you interact with that material. Focus on that part. There is no magical material out there. There is no nothing that is out of the world. It's standard, and but you should take the most out of it. When you solve a question, even you get it right, get it wrong, go back and read the solution. Reading the solution is very important. Especially in GMAT Viz, what I find very good is that the solutions are written in a very much detailed manner. Read it, understand it. How probably I think Sunita ma'am wrote most of the verbal answers, right? I'm assuming that. So that way you can understand.
Okay, I
Am
lost
I
the
audible?
last 10 seconds. I guess your last seconds got cut for some
Okay.
reason. I'm not sure it's just me or the users also. Last 10 seconds, like after you said that about the solutions, you started talking about that. That's where
Uh,
I lost
okay.
you. Yeah.
I'll just repeat. Like, let's just assume that it went off for everyone. So the idea is that go through the solutions in a very detailed manner, and then take notes where you are missing, what the solution is doing right. So those kind of things. That is where the most amount of learning comes, when you
True.
first solve a question and then interact with the solution given. and just find the gaps, what you thought right, what took you more time, how can you do it more efficiently. So even if you solve say 5 questions in a day, but those 5 questions should be solved in a lot of depth. Like there is no like a way I say it to my friends and everyone is that GMAT won't give you extra marks for solving 20 questions every day. They do not simply care. They simply care on the exam day, how many questions are you able to solve in a correct way, right?
And honestly, as you said, that you need to just have access to a proper standardized resource. So
Correct.
so just for the users, I know Piyush said that you can refer to any material, but Piyush referred to always he did his research and always worked with material which are standardized, which are good to give you the
Hmm.
best resources out in the market. And GMATWhiz happened to be the last course that he took before his
Right.
exam. So that was the last leg of prep. But yeah, he benefited from many of the courses. So it's important that you stick to the course. Any course that you're taking should be a standardized one, and it is giving you the solutions in a detailed fashion. So maybe you can
Correct.
check out
That
the
is
trial
very
versions
important.
of different things and see what the solution quality is, because that's the most important thing overall, I guess.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. That is
Great,
one
great. So
difference. That is one
yeah.
problem people face if we refer to GMAT Club so much, because there multiple people have written solutions, right? So one standardized way of solving is not there. So that
Not
is where a platform like GMATWhiz comes in. So you can be very in a standardized way. You can learn. Okay, so this is what I missed in this question. The second question is also solved in a similar manner. So you can then apply your learnings there. So that is where actually such platforms come in very handy and very useful. The key is there is no magic trick. You have to stick with it. Like that is the key, and you there's no other way.
Yeah, there's no shortcut to success, so that's very, very important for you to understand. You have to put your 100%. And in fact, I'm just a candid discussion. So I remember like sometimes Sunita ma'am used to call me and told me that, you know what, I see Piyush, like this guy has really, really good talent in him. Like he can actually do very well. He's very sharp. And not just about you, there was another person who was a batchmate of mine in way back in
Okay,
college who was studying at the same time as you were. So she
okay,
was telling me about both of you, that both people are very, very sharp. They can actually do very well, but sometimes, you know what, they focus on running through questions too fast, using this or
mm,
that. How do I work with them? How do I convince them? I am trying my best. They're not understanding it. So all of us have made that mistake. Like I'm pretty sure those of you who are live here also might have made that mistake. I accept when I was doing CR, like the course I was referring to was teaching pre-thinking, and I did not use pre-thinking at all. Like for the first 250 or 300 questions I solved, I did not pre-think at all. I was like, okay, I am very sharp. I know how logical reasoning works. No one can teach me that, and I started solving. What I realized was that there was a pattern emerging in my mistakes, that whenever the answer is between D and E, the chances of
mm,
getting the question wrong is much higher. Basically, it should be
mm,
actually 40%, right? 40% chance of getting it wrong. But mine was much more. The reason I
mm,
realized was that I was getting biased by the information which was given initially in the first two or three choices.
mm.
So that's when I started going to pre-thinking and started
Correct.
analyzing the answers better. So all of us have done that mistake, but there's no shortcut to success. That's for sure. And
No,
it's coming from a
yes,
100 percentile, guys. It cannot. I have not achieved 100 percentile. I'm just a 740 guy. This is coming from a person who has scored a 100 percentile. Nothing can be better than that. So keep it in mind. No shortcut.
no shortcuts.
Okay. So thank you so much, Piyush, for taking out time today and sharing such amazing tips. I see someone has also asked for sharing the pages. So do you mind if I share the PDF version of the
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you
presentation?
can share.
You
No
can share,
worries.
right?
You can share.
So I'll
Yes.
put it up in the description. It will just take a one, maybe till tomorrow or day after. You'll be able to download it, Purnima, from it, or you can mail us on support@gmatwiz.com. Also, we'll be sharing that with you.
One more thing I'll add, like that becomes one of the key things on the exam day. So this is
Mhm.
for the exam day, not before that.
Okay.
For the exam day, it
Okay.
becomes very important, very, very important to keep your mind calm. It is of the
Mhm.
utmost importance. There's like, so what happens with me, like I have this monkey mind. I jump from one thing to another, not able to actually concentrate and sit for 1 hour. So that is something that actually
Mhm.
costed me in when I was giving my mocks in the last 2 weeks before my preparation. I used to get very silly questions wrong because I read a word wrong. So that way, like I misread it or I ate it, did not actually give the importance it deserves. So I used to think that Piyush, I'm doing a disservice to myself by just simply omitting these words. You're getting 20, 30 points below your actual potential score.
Actual potential.
So, so on the exam day, what I did on a writing pad, I wrote read every word and I put that in front of my screen. So before
Okay.
reading every question, I was reminded that read every word. And that was one mistake from across my preparation that I was doing. So that day I was just sure that, okay, this is one mistake I will not do. Rest mistakes are okay. Because if I do not know something, then it's okay. But if I know something and just because I read something wrong, getting it wrong, is not a good thing. So that is that you need to be very strict with yourself, and however you may apply it to yourself. I applied that by writing that on a piece of paper and putting it there, that read
That's
every.
a neat advice. I'm gonna keep that in my notebook and make sure that tell that to everyone. Like I tell people to stay calm, but that's a very nice way of staying calm and staying focused to what you need to do. Like, definitely,
Correct.
great thing.
Second thing on the exam day that I did was that I kept on talking to myself. So like the moment I woke up, so I had exam from 10:30. From 7
Oh.
onwards, I was just going through my notes, like moti notes, not a very big revision, something sort of. And I kept on telling myself, like whenever a negative thought or a overwhelming thought came, that okay, Piyush, we will think about it later. Like after the exam, we'll think about it. So I just kept on telling myself, ki, okay, Piyush, will think about it later. Like when I was going to the exam hall, like a bit of dent came to my car, and I was like, yeah. But I was like, okay, koi baat nahi, Piyush, isko baad mein sochenge. We'll think about it later. Even on the exam day, like if you could show the verbal slide, if
Yeah,
possible, like I'll
I'll
very
just
practically explain it there. So there were a few questions in which I was just wandering all along. So if you read an interesting RC, then you start thinking a lot about those RC. Like, okay, what is this? Like, apart from things that is not mentioned in the passage, you start imagining a lot. So do not do that because it doesn't really help you. So at that point of time, just tell yourself, okay, Piyush, question ko baad mein sochenge. Uh, I think it's the 20th question. Like it took me 4 minutes to answer that first RC. So it was a
yes,
tough
yeah.
RC. I did not see such RC anywhere in my preparation. But so I started wondering, okay, Piyush, what will happen? Should I prepare RC alag se? Because as I said, I had never prepared RC in my preparation. Alag se aisa, matlab, होता है ना, giving time to RC. So I was thinking, okay,
Specific
Piyush,
time to answer.
ऐसा ऐसा. Then I stopped myself, कोई बात नहीं, पीयूष कोई बात नहीं, अपन इसके बारे में बाद में सोचेंगे. Let us अब बस 3 क्वेश्चन ही बाकी है, ये करने के बाद सोचते हैं. So I kept on repeating myself कि यार पीयूष बाद में सोचेंगे. So that is like very few things, very silly things, but actually
No,
very
these are
practical on exam day.
really practical things, man. This make or break the game. Had you gotten those questions wrong, who knows? Your score might have started with a 9. Just the way you were thinking it to be. So you never know that. Yeah.
Like, so yeah, those are the final few tips for the exam day. And yeah, feel free to connect with me, connect with Piyush. Either ways, I am ready to help. I'm there to help. Any guidance you need, any sort of
Sure.
minute details you'd be struggling with. And
Thank you so
I'm
much
really
for taking
blessed.
your time. I'm sure that there are so many good points that we discussed about, like the entire preparation strategy. And we did not go into just the basic part. The important thing is that we talked about the more advanced things, more advanced mistakes that people make. So everyone talks about,
Correct.
okay, create a study plan, do this, do that. Those are basic things. But the more important things that people miss out on, we really learned a lot today from you about the same.
Yes. So yeah, like I'll just summarize the journey part. Like the first step, first flag that you need to reach is a place where across every section, you can solve questions with 80% accuracy if there is no time limit. That is the first stage you need to reach. And post that, you need to start giving mocks and then make your own strategy how to go about it. So just keep it very simple. In these, just divide your preparation in two phases. In the first phase, you are filling your knowledge gap. In the second phase, you are working with time. That's it.
And that's the best way, most succinct way of putting it across. So thank you so much for taking out time, Piyush. And if anyone wants to refer to the last resource that like Piyush used, GMATWhiz, you have a free trial available. You can definitely look it out here. And if you want to speak to me, I'm gonna give a link to schedule a call on my calendar. You can find it in the description as well. But so very great to have a word with you, Piyush. And I wish you all the best for applications. Like where has Balaji gotten into? I've not had a word with him in recent times.
He is
So
going
where
to
is he
Colombia.
now?
He is going to Colombia.
Colombia. Okay,
Yes.
okay, great. So I'm sure like there is a lot in front of you now. So use the score, and you'll probably be with him again. Maybe same school. You'll still call him sir there or not? I'm not sure, but yeah. So thank you
That is
so
the
much for
British
taking the
ISM
time.
tradition. We are very proud of this ISM culture and maintaining it throughout. Yes.
No, no, totally understand the love and affection in that part. So thank you
Both
so
of them,
much,
I guess.
Piyush. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye.